The Hash It Out Show is brought to you by Barreto Home Solutions, Bayou Audio and Video, Hot Works on the North Shore, JFK Martial Arts in Mandeville and Covington, Black Hawk Hauling, Lil Dizzy's Cafe, Wags Food and Culture, Moe's Pizza, The Green Law Firm, Personal Injury Attorney, Drums Earwear.
Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. 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 Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
Ladies and gentlemen, now for the megaphone presentation.
Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I am your host, Jared Boyd, also known as JB, your sports guy. We got a great show for you all tonight. I'm joined by my two co-hosts that you can catch on CrescentCitySports.com. We got the one and only VK Jones. What's up, VK?
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Like, tag, share, and subscribe to the Hash It Out Show on all social media platforms. This is week number 3 of the prep football season, and this is officially rivalry week, and this is a huge week. Bunch of big games we're going to talk about tonight, and we have a legendary special guest that's joining us that's going to discuss one of the big rivalries tonight.
Also, we have George GP Peppers. What's going on, George?
I'm doing fine. I just want to make sure when you play that last clip that you're okay. You know, the 2022 presentation. I just want to make sure you're the Shaw alumnus of this group. I just want to make sure that you're in capacity. You're good.
Look, like I've said before, I am okay. I am okay. Just seeing my cousin play there for 4 years was a little bit heartbreaking, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all
Absolutely.
love. It's all
Yep.
love. As you saw, the battle for the megaphone is this Friday night at Archbishop Shaw High School as they take on the Rummel Raiders. But our guest tonight is a living legend in himself. He's a 2-time state championship winning coach. He was the head coach of Archbishop Rummel for 24 seasons. The one, the only Coach J. Roth. Coach J. Roth, thank you for joining us. I truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, glad to be here with an esteemed panel, VK and Mr. Pappas, and then you, Jared. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Coach, tell us, what was the reason or why did you want to become a football coach?
Well, I really didn't want to be. I was playing football in Nichols. I got my degree in marketing and got out in 1986 when there was an oil bust and no jobs. And so when I couldn't find a job, I started substitute teaching at East Jefferson High School. They brought me on the staff there to help out for a year, and then I got hooked. And it wasn't because of the money, but it was good being back in football again. And that's how I got started.
What was the feeling like of when you were hired to become the head coach at your alma mater, Archbishop Rummel?
Well, it was like going home, but in between then I had to learn a little bit. I spent 3 years in public school system. And, I've always said that I really didn't know how to coach football until I got to Shaw under Coach Hank. And then I was with some great assistants and learned so much under him. And then went to Jesuit for a little increase in money and got to call plays under Coach Sanji. And then it was just by luck I got the Rummel job because Sanji was coming off. We were coming off a semifinal year at Jesuit, and Sanji turned the job down, and they came and offered to me, and I grabbed it at 32 years old. And I was there for 24 years, 25 years.
What was it like to learn from Coach Sanji and Coach Hank, two legends also in themselves?
Well, those 3 years at Shaw were fabulous. It was known as the University of Shaw back then when I was there, and we had some fabulous athletes, teams, and we had fun coaching. We had fun going undefeated 2 years in a row, and you just learned football. I mean, I learned how to coach. I learned how to prepare. I learned how to watch film. And Hank was a great teacher because you see his coaching tree, His coaching tree is now 60, 65 years old. That's his tree now. And I thought after 3 years I was ready to move on after I learned so much with him.
You've won many Catholic League titles. You've competed for state championships, but I want to go to 2012 when you won your first state title. I was in the Dome, and you're playing Barb. And it's funny, I have a lot of family in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And out of all of these family members, one relative has only gone to Barb High School. Everybody else was LaGrange or Washington Marion. But they all came down to cheer for Barb. And I told them it's not going to happen tonight. Now, I was scared for 3 quarters, but that 22-point fourth quarter you guys had was something else. What is your biggest memory from winning that state championship?
Well, I remember we had beaten Mandeville in the semifinal game, and I was being interviewed by WWL, and they said Barb had just scored 27 points in the fourth quarter, and they scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes to upset West Monroe. And I was kind of glad because West Monroe had taken us to the woodshed 3 years before. But then again, when they had the quarterback and they had the receiver Fontenot and Deshaun Smith, the tight end, I said, these guys, we might not be able to score enough points. And it just gave me an idea of how to attack them, and it was by not giving them the football. And we did such a good job of just running the clock down to 1 second, staying in bounds, and not giving them opportunities to score. And we had a 1-point lead. We had a touchdown lead at half. We were winning by 1. Started the fourth quarter, then we put it away with 21 points in the fourth quarter. It was a great feeling because, let me tell you, we are still the defending 5A state champions. Archbishop Rummel is still the defending 5A state champions because there is no defending 5A state champion. We've been split. So I tell people all the time as a joke, we won the last real state championship. We had to go through 64 teams, which who knows, that might never happen again.
Some teams repeat as state champions, some don't. It's not an easy task, but you were able to do that. Talk about the 2013 state title when you guys defeated Bird.
Well, that was the first year in select, so we really didn't know what the playoff system would hold. I mean, we had a bye in the first round. We had a bye in the semifinal round. We only played 2 playoff games. We were rebuilding. At one point, we weren't even in the top 10 in the city or the state. We had lost 3 games. I think we were 2-3 at one point in the season. And it's funny, we stripped the decals off our kids' helmets because they weren't worthy of wearing the Rummel R. And they got offended by that, and we reeled off, I think it was, 6 or 7 straight wins to win a state championship. And we were young. I mean, Chase Forquet was a sophomore. We lost Damian Williams, Sethan Carter, Keith Fulton. We had lost Michael Kennedy at linebacker. We lost some good players, and we had to rebuild, but we found a way to get it done. So it was very gratifying. The first one I celebrated like a kid all over the field. The second one I acted mature.
2019, after you lost to Catholic of Baton Rouge, I believe in the semifinals, you decided to step down as the head coach of Archbishop Rummel. How did you know that it was time that you step away from coaching?
Well, it was in 2018. We lost 10-3. It was a game we should have won. They had a bad call. Logan Diggs got called for a illegal blindside block, which all it was a pick. It was a great play by him. We had the ball in field goal territory. And it gave Catholic the ball back, and they kicked the field goal at the end. But you know what? The losses, I hated losing more than I enjoyed winning. And even though it might have been 1 or 2 losses a year, I was just, man, it got to me. And I just didn't like the feeling anymore. And I said, you know what? If I get out of coaching, I ain't got to worry about it. And I did, and I've never looked back. It was a great run. It was an easy decision. Just those losses just ate you up more than, the 9 or 10 wins a season did. The 1 or 2 losses killed you. So that's the reason I got out. And I knew at the time I was done. And I was going to be able to leave it in good hands.
How has your time been being the athletic director of Archbishop Rummel?
It's been good. I've enjoyed it. When I was head football coach, I was like this. I had blinders on. I was like, my head was in a Lay's potato chip. Picked it out of it. I didn't know we had a basketball team. I didn't follow nobody else. I could care less what other sports were doing. Very selfish. And then becoming an athletic director, I realized, you know what? We got some good athletes, some good coaches, some good sports programs, and I've enjoyed watching them grow and them win, and the other athletes in the school have success. So that's been the nice thing. And then, believe it or not, at every game I'm collecting tickets, and I enjoy visiting with alums, and I see often alums of other schools I coached at, like today at Shaw. We played Shaw in the 8th grade game. Some of the Creeth brothers came through. They had played for us and went under Coach Hank, so I got to see them. When we played Jesuit, I got to see kids I coached at Jesuit. So it's always enjoyable to visit with people as AD now, and I'm not stressed out, and I take time to enjoy it.
Archbishop Shaw and Archbishop Rummel plays for the Megaphone. Tell us how all of this got started.
Well, very unique. I think it's a great rivalry, a great thing. In 1964 was the first game. Both schools were built and started in 64. They opened up in 64, played their first football game in which Rummel won 26-19. And I don't know how the Megaphone came about, but they exchanged this cheerleader megaphone, which half of it was painted with the green Shaw and half of it was painted with the red R. And at the end of the game, the losing team presents the megaphone. The captains of the losing team presents the megaphones to the captains of the winning team. And then it's like taking the vanquished booty back across the river, And I've seen grown men, I've seen players cry over it. I've seen grown men cry over it. I've seen it stay on one side of the river 15 years. I've seen it stay on one side of the river for 17 years. But being a former player at Rummel, I know what it's like to receive it and get it back. And it's, in a 12-6 ball game in 1980, it was sure nice to the captains of Shaw to give it back to me than me having to get it back to them. So it is real.
In the year 2000, you as a head coach won the Megaphone for the first time. Explain that feeling.
First time in 15 years in 2000, week 10, we beat Shaw 28-12. We have no running backs. Eric Smith gets hurt the week before, one of our all-district, all-state type running backs. And we take cornerback Terrence Dunbar and say, Terrence, coach, I played running back at the park. I said, okay, you're going to play it in the district championship game. And he rushed for over 200 yards, and we beat Shaw for the first time since 1985. And I'm telling you, you would have thought we were bringing back gold to school. We had alumni that have never held it. We had older players drinking beer out of it, taking pictures with it. It really is something. And I'm telling you, when that megaphone goes back and forth, and you paint the score on it, you give it to the art department, it is a good feeling. It's something you're playing for, and you want to make sure it's on your bus on the way home.
2006, Shaw won the Megaphone back, but you got it back in 2009, and it's been at Archbishop Rummel ever since. What are your thoughts about Rummel keeping it so far for 14 years?
Well, I guess turnaround's fair play. They did it to us from 85 to 2000. So we've turned around and done it now since 2009. But, we were talking about that game today. In 2009, we played Scott Bainsford as the head coach. We're playing for the district championship at Horse Memphis on a Saturday at 2:00. And Damian Williams is our freshman quarterback with our freshman tailback, Terrence Jones. And we get the ball back. We're down 17-10 with a couple minutes left, and we drive the length of the field. We throw a touchdown pass, the time expires, and we go for 2 right away. And we run a halfback pass, and Terrence Jones catches a pitch from Damien. He holds the ball up to throw it, and he pulls it down and gets in the end zone. And it's a walk-off victory, 18-17. And it was another one of these games which I acted like a fool, ran all over the field, but it was true energy. You win the district championship week 10, and you win the megaphone, and you beat your biggest rival, Shaw. So it was a great feeling. Probably one of the most exciting games I've ever been a part of.
Can I say that maybe that 2009 victory is your favorite megaphone game?
Well, getting it back when you get it back in 2000 and you haven't had it in your hand for 15 years, that was big. But as far as the game coming down to the last play in the megaphone game, that's the one that I remember as being a last play type win.
VK, I pass it to you, sir.
Coach Roth, man, it's good to see you once again, man. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's always good to see you and everything else. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I go way back with this guy. His first year was my junior year at St. Augustine. And when I tell anybody at St. Augustine, you better respect Jay Roth because he owns St. Aug. And that's just facts. That is just facts, because this guy, I don't know what it is, but even the first year, like St. Aug had a 16-3 lead with about a minute something, 2 unexpected touchdowns, and the win. First win in 14 years. I know that was a big win on your resume, Coach, more than anything else.
It was. And VK, it's something. Out of all the Catholic League schools, you are right. I get more respect from St. Augustine alums and fans than any other school in the state, in the city, in the league. It's true. But yeah, that game, St. Aug was loaded. They were stuffing it. And we throw a touchdown pass, a play action pass for a touchdown. We kick an onside kick, recovered, throw the same pass again, and beat them 17-16. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Buster Sealing was the quarterback, and it was
Yes.
crazy because to play before Wayne Cordova lays a big time hit, and I'm like, okay, can we keep it going? Next play, he throws it deep.
I don't know how he got up after that hit.
Exactly.
That
was a hard hit. I was like, man, But I wanted to start it off with this, Coach. Man, megaphone game is always big rivalry and everything else. I remember one year you had Darren Parquette, and he had a huge night against Shaw in the megaphone game. Can you tell us about that night?
VK, I'm going to draw a blank on that one because those were the don't carry with my butt for 3 years. I know we had Michael Burks and Darren Parquette. I remember Ryan Clark. Those first 3 years were just tremendous talent on the field for both teams. And we were always playing Shaw. We were undefeated. We had 1 loss, and Coach Hank just had no mercy. I mean, one thing that man does is when he plays a former coach, it's personal. It's personal with him. And I remember we were at Jazz when 3 of us had just coached on his staff at Shaw, and he made it his business to score on the first play 3 years in a row, and he did it.
Wow.
But I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on the Parquette game against Shaw, so I don't forget much when it comes to the prep football, but I'm forgetting that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Parquette was unreal in itself, and especially his story. I mean, one of the most courageous players I probably ever seen that you have coached at Rummel. I mean, what courage that young man had more than anything else.
And back in the day, those running backs, everybody knew they were getting the ball. Everybody was running the ball at the eye, tailback-oriented league. They knew Michael Burks was going to carry it 25, 30 times a game. They knew Parquette was going to carry it, and they still got their numbers. They were great players. Absolutely.
Your relationship with Hank Tierney was so much reminded of a relationship with your father and Otis Washington at St. Augustine. And that's how deep the St. Aug and Rummel rivalry was at the time. Did you think that relationship with you and Hank reminded you of your father and Otis Washington?
Well, it did, in a way. Hank, Coach Washington and my father were contemporaries. They coached against each other, and they had a lot of respect for each other. And, of course, like you said, Rummel just happened to have St. Aug's number during their great years in 78, 79, to where we got our share of victories. My relationship with Hank was that actually I was a player when he was first started coaching his Sean to Joe Zimmerman. And I actually coached with Hank as to where my dad didn't coach with Coach Walsh. But I always had great respect for Coach Washington. When he was coaching at Southern, I was playing at Nicholls State, and I got to visit with him then. And my dad actually spoke at his funeral and eulogized Coach Washington, which was pretty unique. And but Hank and he took a chance on me. I was coaching at East Ascension. I was in my third year, and the whole staff got fired in Gonzales at East Ascension. And I had my degree in business and said, I don't know if I want to do this. I sent out 2 resumes. I sent a resume to Bobby Collin and Brother Martin. I sent a resume to Hank Tierney at Shaw. Now, I didn't know either one of these men. Hank Tierney called me, sight unseen, never met me or nothing. He says, I'm hiring you. You're Easton's son. I coached against you. You're hired. And the first time I met him was after they won the 87 championship. They played Covington in the spring game in Covington, and I met him there. And that was my first time meeting him, and it was just unbelievable. The first time I'm with Hank, I'm on the sidelines with him. I'm not even hired yet. First play of the scrimmage, he goes, put your hands up. I said, what? He says, touchdown. I said, Coach, he says, put your hands up. This will be a touchdown. Sure enough, it was some play out the veer. They scored a touchdown. That's how he was. He knew what he was doing. He was a very confident person, and I just enjoyed coaching with him.
Taking a look at that, we remember those. I covered a couple of those championship teams you had, those state championship teams. That one team, and I know that was heartbreaking in itself when you guys lost to Catholic in the state championship, and probably one of the greatest state championships I've seen in the Dome more than anything else, regardless of what happened and everything. But your team was as good as that first Dome team, in my opinion, because I mean it was such a deep team, and I really thought it was going to be your night, but it was unbelievable what Catholic did that night.
That one still hurts right here. Here, we lose the state championship on the field on the last play of the game. We had beat them 35-7 in a scrimmage, and we get beat 34-31 or 31-28. I don't know. We got beat by a field goal. That one hurt because I think everybody thought after beating Curtis in the semifinals, beating Curtis twice in 1 year in their first year in the Catholic League, that this was going to be an easy win for Rummel. It wasn't, and we kind of spit the bit there. And even when I talked to Chase 4K, Briston Guidry, and guys like that, everybody just brings it up, how we just missed the boat on that one. But it was a good team. It was a really good team. What we did the 14 previous games leading up to that state championship was pretty impressive.
Taking a look at yourself as the athletic director is doing a great job stepping in for Paul Greco, who was there for years and everything. And you just, you're taking the bull by the horns. You look at all the other programs, especially with the baseball team and Frank Kazoo, what a job he done over there. And we talked at that baseball tournament. That was my first time there, and it was a great experience. And you even said it yourself. It's the same field we got Catholic a couple years ago, and you was right, because I mean, it was another upset. That field was an upsetting field that week, and I think
I remember that because that's where Nick Monica beat Catholic in the semifinals in 2012, I believe, maybe, when he was the head coach. And Frankie did it. Catholic was a tremendous team this year, and Frankie did it again on that field, beat them. So yeah, I remember telling you that.
Yeah, and I mean, you really. And then also with basketball, it's amazing because I know Scott Thompson took a lot, but it seems like you two put your heads together. Things kind of changed, and looks like Scott Thompson here to stay, because what a year that Rummel really had, and it seems like he's got a really good future with that program.
He does. I'm proud of Scott. It was a rough start. I mean, when you only win 2 or 3 games in a season in basketball, prep basketball, it's rough. And he turns around and wins 22 last year and gets to the second round of the playoffs. So I was proud of what they accomplished, and I'm looking for good things from him. Frankie's done it in baseball. Coach Monica came out the gate fast in football and has been consistent. We just hired a new cross-country track coach, and our wrestling team's competitive, top 5 every year, Division II. So, yeah, things are going pretty good at Rummel.
What's up? Let's take a look at this year's megaphone game a little bit. This Rummel team so far 1-1, but last week a big time character win on the road against University, and they're having some momentum going into Zimmerman for the second year in a row. What are your thoughts on this Rummel team here having a chance to maintain the megaphone?
All right, so I'm not speaking as a coach because I don't coach anymore. All right, so
I understand.
I'm not speaking.
No problem.
I'm speaking as a guy that watches from the side, and I don't go to practice much, maybe once a week. But the win last week was big because for 3.5 quarters, U High pretty much spanked us. We were down 17-7, I believe. And we scored 2 touchdowns in the last 10 minutes with a young football team. And this team was number 1 in their division. So I was very proud of the guys and the assistant coaches for, staying the course, not panicking. And we pulled out a real good win. The loss to Ouachita, I mean, we did 5 or 6 turnovers. And we lose in the last minute up there. So we could easily be 2-0. But let me tell you, this game's been circling on Archbishop Shaw's schedule for a long time. And it's a game that Coach Hank's looking forward to. The West Bank's looking forward to. I'm sure we're going to be walking in. Coach Nick's going to be walking into a hostile environment. To me, playing at Josie Stadium is like playing upriver at some little small town. It's a cool little venue. It's tight. The fans are right on top of you. Everybody's on campus because that parking's inside the gate. So when you get on Shaw's campus, everybody's in there. So it could be, and it could grow to be a very intimidating place to play.
Absolutely. The stadium looks really great. I'm gonna ask you one more question. I'm gonna let George Peppers take over with the questions, but I'm gonna say this. I know we're rivals, Coach, a little bit, but we respect one another. But also, we are also Nichols alumni. I'm a newest graduate from Nichols State. I graduated from in disciplinary studies from Nichols State. I went to take a look at my try to get my cap and gown together. So I'll be walking in December. So we're alumnus now.
Congratulations. Go Colonels. You're right, DK. Look, hey, that's one thing we do. And Jared, you know this, in the Catholic League, we want to beat each other's brains in when we play each other. But don't talk bad about my Catholic League teams, all right? Because we're going to take up for each other.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. That's the great respect we have one another, because the thing is, when you hit the field, it's 4 quarters of war. But then when it's over with, we shake hands. It's great respect for one another. But, I'm very honored to be a part of the Nichols alumni. But I'm asking this last question. You're a person that's very unselfish in itself. And you have coached some great players over the years. And I tell you, I'm going to ask you this. You don't have a favorite player, don't you? That one of the greatest players ever played, Rummel. You don't have a favorite player, don't you?
Not a favorite, not one, no. I couldn't. That and being an offensive coach, I was the head coach, but I coached offense. I called plays, so I really didn't give the defense. I trusted Eddie Jaculard, Nick Monica, and those guys to run the defense, and we had some great players over there. I just saw the offensive all the time. We had some good ones, but I can't pick a favorite. You know that.
That's why I was just making sure. 'Cause I know you're the type of coach that's like, hey, I know this guy was good, but there was something about that guy. I know this guy was good, but something about this guy. So, but you're the type of person that's very unselfish. But, what I admire about you as a coach, you do with so much and sometimes with less than you think. Because I remember one year, I don't know if it's 20, it was one of them years in the 2000s. You took on a very good St. Aug team at their homecoming. And St. Aug only gave up 2 first downs the whole game, but you wound up getting the win. And it was just, oh my Lord. I was like, Jay Roth really has our number, because we only gave up 2 first downs and still lose.
So it was a Saturday evening game, and the crowd went all the way to the horseshoe. It was huge. It was homecoming. You're right. Yep.
Yeah. So, but like I said, you do a lot with what you have, and you have done an unbelievable job.
Thank you.
George Peppers.
Coach, first of all, thank you for joining us tonight, and it's a pleasure to talk to you again. It's been a while. Let me say this: I don't have a personal stake in this. Yes, sir.
No, see, you still got that radio voice.
I thought he was saying.
Right, yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, faithful radio. It's a faithful radio, Coach. I'll say it, but it's all good. Hey, look, I don't have the personal stake that everybody. I say personal, but I don't have the bigger stake like Jared and Ray K have, but because I'm a John Eric grad, I think the only thing I can hang my hat on is last year when y'all beat us in the bi-district round of the playoffs. And yeah, I'm old school. I'm thinking of non-split, so I call it the bi-district round. I'm sorry. I'm anti-split. Always have, always will be. But I think we owe you one. We'll get you sometime. I don't know when, but who knows?
Oh, no.
Anyway, but I do have the utmost respect for you and every Catholic League program because you guys do it the right way. Every program that I've seen, Holy Cross, yourself, Shaw, all the programs in the Catholic League, they do things the right way, and I have the utmost respect for everything that league does. My first question to you, though, it's about the megaphone game. When you talk about the megaphone game, obviously it's of the utmost importance. Where does it rank to you as far as rivalries around the state? I mean, you know about rivalries around the state and around New Orleans and whatnot, but where does the megaphone rank to you in that vein?
Well, being a former coach, a Rummel graduate, and a Catholic my whole life, and coached on both sides of this game as Sean Rummel, it was huge. And I remember games. I remember as a fan in '76 when John Forquet was playing, they're stuffing Rummel, He's running all over. But it's a 7-0 game still, and it's with under 2 minutes left, and Rummel throws a 80-yard halfback pass for a touchdown, and it's 7-6, and they go for 2, and they run the same play over again, a halfback pass on the goal line to beat Shaw and John Forquet 8-7. So the place is going crazy, and Shaw is very upset because they had a great team that year with John. So my freshman year in '77, we go back to Shaw and Forquet's playing, and they beat us. They beat us 18-17, and Coach Hank will deny this, and Joe Zimmerman denies it, but I know for a fact I was on that bus. We were on the bus in the outfield of West Jeff baseball field, and they drove circles around our bus like cowboys and Indians, and they wouldn't let us leave the stadium. And I remember my coach, Don Prett, made us sit there with our helmets on and mouth shut and just watch the Eagles drive in circles and yell at us for like 10 minutes as we tried to get out the stadium. So, that's what our type of rivalry. Yeah. And I used to tell the kids this. It's real. And let this megaphone start going back and forth for a couple of years. It's really going to get real, which I hope doesn't happen, okay?
Well, obviously. I mean, considering which side you're on, and, I've got a Shaw man right here with us. But when you talk coming into this megaphone game, a win like last week, like VK mentioned, in the manner of how you accomplished it, how that Rummel team accomplished to win against a very, very talented U High team, wouldn't you imagine that would bring major momentum coming into this Friday, and especially considering it's megaphone week?
It does. Coach Nick was very, very happy with his team, the outcome. I know at halftime I could hear a little rumbling outside. I could hear him in there at halftime outside the door. So I know he wasn't too happy. But his kids, and I'm going to tell you, you're going to find out Friday night that he's playing with a very, very young. He's got 2 or 3 freshmen on the field due to whatever circumstances. Played last week against U High. So we're going to have to grow up fast. But he does a great job teaching and coaching and his kids. And, I think he'll have them ready to go in that type of hostile atmosphere, which I think we're going to have Friday night.
No doubt about it. Let's talk about the Catholic League as a whole. Obviously, you looking at it from a wider lens, being the athletic director at Rummel. Is the Catholic League in football the strongest league in the state, in your opinion?
From top to bottom, yes. From top to bottom. You got to remember, you take the 2 non-Catholic schools, and they're in our league, so they're a Catholic league, whether they like it or not. We don't want to say that. They're Catholic league. Carr's Catholic league, Curtis's Catholic league. And then you throw in schools. From top to bottom, there's no weekend off. And if this was a 64-team field like it used to be, any one of us out the league getting the playoffs, we're winning a few games. And I always said that you get a Catholic league, we could just get to the playoffs and get out of our own league. You're going to win some games,
I concur, but there's a group in Lafayette that would say otherwise. The district with STM, Lafayette Christian, Acadiana, teams like that, they're going to make that argument. But you know what? I'm with you on the Catholic League side of things. Maybe.
That's STM, Lafayette Christian, and Acadiana. And Lafayette Christian hung 60 on Acadiana 2 weeks ago.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I think
at their place.
At their place, yeah. So I just think as a whole, it's always been a top to bottom league.
With the additions of Carr and Curtis, I mean, I don't think the credibility needed to be questioned, but those two, with how they operate their programs, really, I think, puts the Catholic League as the number one league in the state. But with that being said, uh, when you let's look at the playoff structure now, because I really want to get your opinion on it as an athletic director. Not as obviously you're not the coach, but you're now an AD. What did you make of the injunction deal that happened a couple of weeks ago before we started things off with the 9 schools getting granted an injunction? And I'm not going to say it looks like it because I don't want to make assumptions, but as of right now, we don't know what format we're looking at. What do you make of that whole situation, Coach?
First of all, I was shocked because when has the LHSA ever had a setback in court? I can't remember, especially when
I can't either.
When it was a judge in East Baton Rouge Parish. So that's one thing. I was shocked that there was a setback. But if you read Robin Farnborough's article the day after, now I was kind of upset with Mickey McCarty and Neville leading this court. The LHSA, because, when Neville, West Monroe, and Rummel, Ouachita were winning 12 state titles in a row, nobody from the South argued or griped. All we did was get better. That's all we did was work to get better. We never griped. Then all of a sudden, a couple of teams from the South win it, and they want to split. But the thing is this, if you read Robin Farnborough's article the day after, there's 3 scenarios to this thing. It might backfire on the non-select schools that they brought this to the state and the courts. It might backfire. I mean, we might not know a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before playoffs how this is even going to work out. It could go right up to the last week. And if they can't make a decision or decide on something, hell, we might be back playing like 2012 for a year or so.
And you're segueing into my next question about that scenario. What if? And obviously, I can imagine being a coach in that situation. Week 10 shows up. We don't have any structure or any idea of what the heck we're going to do. But then they make the decision and they say, let's go back to 12 or whatever structure we're going to go to. That's an inherent disadvantage, and that's a fallacy in my book. What are your thoughts?
I agree. Not knowing. And then, we got out of a 12-team playoff last year, and it was a breath of fresh air. At least your kids, you got to understand, as a high school football player, you want to go see what it's like to play in a little river town or a country town, or take a 4-hour bus ride to play in some stadium in front of fans, which you'll never forget. And when we're in that, when that select Division I is playing a 12-team and 8 of them are from the Catholic League, and you got Catholic High and Bird of Shreveport, that's your only chances of getting out. It's really not fair to the kids. It's almost, you're not giving them a chance to experience what everybody else has experienced in the state. So I hope it doesn't go back to
agree. I bring up the one biggest fallacy of this split in and of itself, and it's a school out of Baton Rouge called Mentorship Academy. They scored all of 36 points in 10 games and found their way to the playoffs against many, and they got subsequently whipped 65-7. But this is why the split is bad for Louisiana. What would be your solution? Would you like to go back to originally 5 classes to where we used to be, and where we actually had playoffs instead of warm-ups?
Guys, one of my greatest lessons as a head football coach was in 2010, coming off of state champions. We go 4-6. We're 3-6 going into week 10 Megaphone versus Shaw. We win it. We go 4-6, and we don't go to the playoffs. And that's our only year of not being in the playoffs. And let me tell you what it's like to sit home week 11 and not be where you think you should be. It makes you look at your program. It makes you say reevaluate it. And it makes you a better coach. And sometimes your butt needs to stay home and you don't belong in the playoffs. And that's what happened to us in 2010. And it was a great growing experience. I'm all for 5 classifications. What is wrong with having on your jacket saying you were a state quarterfinalist or a state semifinalist? That's a great season. But now everybody wants to win a state championship. They just don't want to be one of the final 8 or the final 4. Hell, at Rummel, we were in the final 4 6 times before we got to the final 2. But I was just as proud as getting to the final 4 as I was making it to the state championship. So people kind of blow it up.
Mhm.
You're not successful if you're not 15-0. Yes, you can be successful with 8-4 in getting to the second round or the third round of the playoffs. Yes, you can be successful. So to answer your question, 64 teams, 5 classes, that's what we need. Some people need to work a little harder.
Agree. I think there's too much participation being handed out, and it's not. I say it as like, oh, thank you for showing up. That's just inherently wrong. I'm all about competition. Shifting it back to this game Friday night, you guys have had the megaphone since 2009. You've obviously don't want to lose it, but what would happen if Shaw beats y'all? How great of a disappointment would it be for you as an athletic director, not as a coach? How much of a disappointment would it be from that lens if Shaw beats y'all Friday night?
I learned this from Hank, and I took it with me to Rummel. When I was at Shaw, we practiced scenarios of the megaphone. What would happen at the end of the game if Shaw won or if Shaw lost? And how the captains had to present it back to the other team and how you had to act. You had to go up there even though you were upset. If you got it back, how you would take it back from, the opposing team and turn to your fans. So when I got to Rummel, we practiced every year receiving the megaphone and what would happen if you got to give this megaphone up. So I'm sure that Coach Nick and Coach Hank will be doing the same thing tomorrow for pregame practice, preparing their teams of what goes down at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
They actually had some type of event last year, the night before the megaphone, and I was there, and Coach Hank spoke, and he said, we just practice on receiving the megaphone or giving Rummel the megaphone. So, yes, they do this. This is correct.
Yes, most schools do it.
Okay.
You don't want it to be a shock, although Rummel hasn't given it up in 18 years. If they got to, you got to know how to do it the right way, just like we did in 2000. We had to learn how to receive it the right way, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the matchup itself, the game itself, I'm sure you've seen some tape on Shaw. This is a young team, but they've got athletes. They got a really good running back. Obviously, let me ask you this though, about 2-part question. How has the preparation been from Nick? What has Nick told you? How's the team looked? And secondly, it's megaphone week, so obviously the enthusiasm's off the chain. I'm pretty sure you're going to bring a truckload of people to Joe Zimmerman Friday night.
Well, again, you forget I'm not the head football coach. Okay, so I
know. I'm
kidding, but really, I haven't seen film on Shaw. I don't bother Coach Nick during the week. I do know that we played a 8th grade football game a day at Shaw, and I did see some of it. And Rummel was victorious 22-6. That's about what I know. I know Shaw played St. Charles off their feet.
Gotcha.
I know they probably had an unexpected loss in Texas last week. And I know we had our win last week, but I really don't know much about both teams, George. I'm not being funny. That's how I've kind of stepped back.
Understood.
Yeah. Look, I can talk about things that happened, for the last 15 years when I was coaching, but I really can't talk about what's happened the last 2 or 3 because other than collecting money, kissing babies, I don't do much.
Do you miss being a head coach?
No, I don't. I miss it because
Gotcha.
I enjoy hearing from former players. Highlight last weekend, I get a text at 2 a.m. Of course, I wasn't up, but the next morning I read it. It's from Carvin Johnson from the 2009 team. He had the All-State player signed with Michigan. And after he finished playing football, I really haven't heard. Just texted telling how much he appreciated what we did for him at Rummel and how he loved Rummel. He wanted to make sure everybody was all right, and come to find out he was texting me from Syria. He's in the Army, So
Oh, wow.
Hearing from former players, Damian Williams texted me a couple of weeks ago that he just had a nice sponsorship signed up with his quarterback academy in Texas. He's doing well. Thank you, Coach. Keith Fulton was in town from Nashville because Chris was playing this weekend, and Keith stopped by school. And Keith is one of the smartest players I ever coached. He knew what everybody did on the field. So that is what I enjoy. That is what I miss. I miss that relationship with them, and that makes my day hearing from former players.
Last, suggestion / question before I turn it back over to Jared. You guys have had a megaphone since 2009, and to be quite frank, you've owned that series. Obviously, winning it 13 straight years, looking for 14 Friday night. Has there ever been any thought of just keeping a megaphone at Rummel, knowing y'all gonna probably win the game or something? I'm doing that just to stir up Jared because he's a Shaw grad. I'm saying that to stir him up. But has there ever been thoughts that y'all have owned this series and where, like, keep the megaphone here? We got that.
I could have swore, and I kid you not, I have to ask Hank, but one of the years, 88, 89, and 90 at Shaw, we forgot the megaphone at school. And Hank had to send somebody back
wow.
and have to get it just in case. And you'd have to vary. But no, the last thing we've always said when we leave for this game is we make sure the megaphone's on the bus. We put it in wrap it up in a bag. We're bringing it, and we all know, it can happen. It has happened to schools, and it's happened to each of us. When we least expect, we've had some great games where the seasons have been on the line, championship games have been on the line, and you bring it. And it's just it adds extra enjoyment when you win because now you get to keep the megaphone, or it adds extra pain when you lose because you got to give it up.
Coach, I got 2 questions and then we'll let you go. The first one, back in 2000, you won the megaphone. You had to play Shaw, I believe, in the quarterfinals of the playoffs that year. And I just want to know if this is true or not. Coach Hank had to sub one of my classes. And the guy next to me asked him some type of question. I don't know what the question was, but it dealt with the game coming up. And Coach Hank said, yeah, Coach Roth called me up saying, even though it's a playoff game, are we still playing for the megaphone? Is that true?
That's a true story. Okay. So Hank calls me and says, Jay, you bringing the megaphone? I said, no, I'm not bringing the megaphone. He says, why? I says, Coach, it's a playoff game, not regular season. We won it. It's a megaphone game. No, it's not. So he beats us. I didn't bring it. The next year, he beats us in the regular season. And when we get it back 2 years later, he has the score painted from the playoff game. So this is a fact, Jared. You look at this megaphone, every year, whoever wins it, when Rummel wins it, we paint over the playoff game. When Shaw wins it, they repaint it back on. That is a true story. Yes. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, baby.
Last question. Catholic League, 7 teams right now. I know eventually Archbishop Shaw wants to get back in the Catholic League. I don't know about De La Salle. We had Coach Wayne Stein on this show 2 weeks ago, and he said his goal is to get St. Charles Catholic in the Catholic League one day. How would you feel about the expansion of the Catholic League, adding back Shaw, maybe De La Salle, and even St. Charles Catholic one day?
Well, you got to remember, it is not the Catholic League's call who's in and who's out. It's the LHSA's call on who is in and who's out. Now, you can take yourself out. But just for example, Curtis and Carr, I don't think they said put me in the Catholic League. They were placed there. They were placed there. They out at any time. I would think, just for tradition's sake, that if Archbishop Shaw, De La Salle, or another Catholic school would say we want to move up to Division I again, I think the LHS strongly consider putting them back in the Catholic League because of the tradition that goes back all the way to the 1950s, especially with De La Salle, 1960s with Shaw, and so on. Yes.
Coach J. Roth, we thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, VK got a question. When he throws that finger up, he has another question. Go ahead, VK.
It was something in my mind that popped up, and I gotta ask you this, Coach, while you're here. Over the years, watching Rummel, watching how the program has grown, I always thought in my mind that what it would be great that Rummel would wind up taking on John Curtis, and it finally happened when they joined the Catholic League. What were your thoughts when, there were years that you and JT tried to get it on, but when it finally came together in the Catholic League, what were your thoughts as 2 of the best teams in East Jefferson finally go at it, and it's been now a yearly tradition now?
We first played Curtis in Jamboree during Michael Burks and Darren Parquette, Darius Wilson. And tied one year, and Curtis beat us one year, 13-12. But the thing about that game, we played him in the Jamboree. It was huge. It was the talk of the city. The stadium was full for a 30-minute football game. In the next week, we lost week 1 both years. Salmon beat us 31-0 one year because we put so much into the Curtis Rummel game. And that's why we never played them until they came into our league, just a yearly thing. And it's been good for the league. They've been great. They've been a great addition to the league. They've added so much to all sports. So I think they've enjoyed being in our league. I mean, because when you're in the Catholic League, you're going to get good film. You're going to get good crowds. You're going to get good paydays. You're going to have good competition every week. You're going to have good sportsmanship. Who wouldn't want to be in a league like that? And I think Bryce and Carv enjoyed playing too. We've enjoyed having them also.
Coach J. Roth, we thank you for joining us. I will see you Friday night at Joe Zimmerman Stadium.
All right, Jared, VK, and George. Look, I always enjoy talking prep football, especially the old days. I enjoy it. I'll see y'all Friday night. Raider Pride.
Go Eagles.
Well, we wish we could be there. Me and George will be in Laplace with Sterling's Catholic and St. Charles Catholic, but we will keep up with the action. But we'll definitely see each other around, Coach.
I'll be there, Coach.
All right, man. Hey, look, I hope Nat Adams.
All right, Coach.
All right, okay, later.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.
Coach J. Roth, former head coach of the Archbishop Rummel Raiders, 2-time state championship winning coach, and to me, one of the best coaches of all time. And I mean, at one time, Coach Roth and his teams were just phenomenal, and he didn't have a lot of talent at one time. And he would get to the quarters and the semis, man. Just a phenomenal coach and a great guy. There's nothing bad you can say about Coach J. Roth. Nothing at all. And I'm happy we got him on this show to talk about the megaphone and his career, and just a stand-up guy, great guy, VK.
Man, I mean, J. Roth, like I said, high respect for him because of what he has done over the years. I remember one year he had a great team that went to the semis, and all of a sudden he lost multiple starters, and all of a sudden the next year it's not rebuild, it's reload. In some way, somehow they win the district again. And I'm like, Roth know what he's doing.
Yes.
But he's so admirable because of the fact he does so well with less.
Yes. Correct.
And then knowing if he has more, it's gonna be lights out.
Yeah.
So, that's what it is. That's what I thought about the first time he won the state championship. The first time he got to the Dome, really good team, finally got over the hump. West Monroe was just a better team that night. But then all of a sudden, that 2012 team, it was loaded to bear. And I really thought, even if they would play West Monroe, I thought they would get it done this time. So this was a really good Rummel team that year. But he's done an unbelievable job with not just the less talent he has, but the great talent. And multiple Rummel players have went to play college football and the NFL.
That's right.
As well.
GP.
Listen, we go back with J. Roth a good little ways, the three of us, in different aspects. Me and VK, when we used to work at WGSO, we would have J. Roth as a guest frequently, because he is so engaging and such a class guy. I can say he's one of my favorite coaches to interview because he's so open and honest, and he'll tell you like it is, what's tonight, with his thoughts on the split, on the fallacy that's going on right now. And I'm sure I'm echoing everybody's, the three of us' opinions about this man. He maximizes his talent. He knows what he's got, and that's what made him great. And, it stunk what happened in 2009. Yes, West Monroe was a better team, but the matter of how that game finished is still going to stick. But the fact that he's got a couple of rings to brandish about, look, J. Roth is a legend to me and to all of us. He is an iconic figure in our state. I can put him in the top 10 coaches of all time in Louisiana prep football. I would put him in that list safely.
And like I said before about him, no disrespect to Hank Tierney, he's great in itself. But to me, one of the best of all time. But I always said, you have to think what Jay did. J. Roth changed the culture at Rummel. from the first year on, because you have to think, when I was a player at St. Aug, and when we seen Rummel from the year before under Mark Martin, different colors, and that when he comes in, new uniforms, they go back to the old Rummel from back in the day, and then the veer and all that, it's gone. They go I formation. They go. I'm seeing Michael Burks and company, and I'm like, hey man, this is a different Rummel team. It's a different Rummel team, and they came out firing and played. And that year, I think St. Aug should have won that game, but some way, somehow, they got it done. But you just know from that first year on that Rummel was about to take over. You know, I say like they say in Star Wars, you know, Hank Tierney is really he's really the he's like the empire. He's like the man right there. But all of a sudden, here's Jay Roth, and Jay Roth is the Sith Lord, Lord, and that's what I compare to it, because I love what Hank done. I no disrespect at all, but what Jay done after all these years was just unprecedented. So
you got to remember, even Coach Roth didn't have the type of talent that Coach Hank had at Shaw.
Agreed. That's just what it is. And for him to do what he did, it's unbelievable. That's why I'm like, you know, anybody say greatest cat league coaches of all time,
It's those two.
It's J1, Hank 2.
Well, I flipped the script. I mean, I love Jay and Hank, but I'll put Hank on top of Jay. But that's like apples and oranges,
Yeah,
baby.
Exactly.
That's apples and oranges.
Exactly.
So there's no going wrong either way.
I agree.
I know Jared. I know
There goes that finger.
I know his bias. I already know.
No, it's not
I'm not being
biased.
biased. I'm not being biased. I didn't
No.
say an answer. J Rock got
Well,
2
you said that?
championships, you know, and what he did with less talent than what Shaw had was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Yep.
I'm kind of like, you know, Coach Hank got to 4 state titles. He won 1. Coach Roth got to 4. He's got 2. You know, so it's tight. It's tight. But Coach Roth is a legend, and to me, one of the best to ever do it. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going straight into our pick'ems. Y'all stay there.
Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. 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 Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
Welcome back to the Hash It Out Show. This Friday, the Hash It Out Show game of the week will be between the St. Charles Catholic Comets and the Turlings Catholic Rebels. Game is being played on St. Charles Catholic campus, 7 o'clock. VK Jones and George Peppers will be calling the game live, ladies and gentlemen. And now let's get into our pick'ems. We'll start with the Thursday night games right here at West Jeff Stadium. We're going to have Booker T. Washington taking on the John Ehret Patriots. Both teams are looking for their first win. I got John Ehret getting their first win. VK.
I agree with you. I think John Ehret is finally going to get the first win in the year and get some payback after what happened last season. I got John Eric in the victory.
GP.
Arnold Barnes ran for, I think, over 300 last year on this era defense. He crushed them. They don't have that dude this year. Aaron's run defense is a concern to me. VK, we saw them in week 1, and they just got absolutely gassed in that second half at Covington because Covington just ran a triumvirate of backs on him. And last week, Shane Lee, Destrehan, 250 and 2. That's a concern long term. But I think the Patriots on talent, I think they're better than Booker T, and I think they win.
Now, before we go on, I did forget something. Forgot our standings. Last week, I was in the lead, first place.
Wrong answer. We're both tied, 23 and 6.
I said
Come on
last
now.
week, not
Oh, okay.
Last
week
week.
1.
I got you.
I was leading. So week 2, VK Jones went 22 and 7. Me and George Peppers both went 23 and 6. You put them together, I am still in first place overall.
Keeping the seat warm. That's all you're doing. Keeping the seat warm.
Oh, okay. Keeping the seat warm. All right. All right.
Keeping the seat warm, my friend. It's all love, baby. It's all love.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you. Calvary Baptist taking on Bird. Bird is off to a rough start. I'm going Calvary Baptist. VK.
I agree. I go with Calvary Baptist. I know Bird is off to a rough start, but eventually Bird will bounce back soon. But Calvary, it's going to be way too much for Bird.
I mean, here's the thing. Calvary Baptist has owned it the first couple of weeks. I don't see the Cavaliers losing. I know they took a tough loss this week with the obvious transfer of Peyton Houston going to now Evangel Christian. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic going forward. But the Cavaliers should win this game. The Yellow Jackets, they're struggling, and they're not playing with any real confidence.
Kenny, I was going to speak on that later on, but let's go ahead and just speak on it quickly, right quick. Yes, Peyton Houston has enrolled at Evangel. He left Calvary earlier in the week. Oh, no, last Friday he left.
Last
Friday, and he has enrolled at Evangel. The Fogle twins, one is a quarterback, one is a wide receiver. They are both seniors. So that means Peyton Houston will be starting in week 3 of the season come next year.
Yep. LHSA rules dictate that,
That's
though.
correct. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We go to the Lafayette area. Karen Crow will be taking on Southside. District play in District 3-5A, I believe that it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3-5A. Yeah, 3-5A.
Mm-hmm.
Southside defending state champions. Karen Crow, a great team in itself. I'm going with the Southside. VK.
You mean defending district champions? Southside got to the semis last year, I believe, and came out short. So.
Southside won the district and lost to Zachary in the quarters.
Quarterfinals last year. I'm sorry about that. But you're saying defending state
champions. That's what I said, defending state?
Yes.
I apologize, people defending district.
You good.
You good.
Cool.
Man, this is a good one here. You picked who?
I picked Southside.
I'm gonna agree with you on that, Jared. That's just gonna be a good ball game. It's gonna come down to the wire. But I like Southside because Southside, like I said, they're trying to make a come up and try to take things to another level. But I like Southside in a very close game.
GP.
Karen Crow is absolutely worthy of winning this football game. The Crow Bears have impressed the first 2 weeks. Yes, Southside did beat Notre Dame week 1. That's an iconic kind of win because that's Lewis Cook, one of the deans of coaching. I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going with the Crow Bears on the road. I think Karen Crow, Mike Hoppage, a columnist that we know well, has been high on this team. I think Karen Crow's got a real shot to go to South Kent. Look at Kenny's comment, y'all. This fool. I'll get him. It's not going to be this game, but I'm going to take Karen Crow because I feel like in a matchup of equal talent, I think the Karen Crow's a little bit better at the end, and I think they win a close game. This will be one of the more underrated games in the state Friday night as far as competitiveness.
Agree. Newman going up north to take on Benton.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Benton came down here last year, had a big lead on Newman, and gave it up.
Yep.
I think Benton wins a close one. I think Benton gets the job done over the Newman Greenies. VK.
I'll tell you one thing. It's been around. Benton used to be the team that used to own South Louisiana. It's been a minute since Benton beat a team from out down south. So it don't matter if that game is on the road. I take Newman for the win.
This was one of the more difficult games I had to pick this week. And simply the advantages are to Benton. Okay. Um, because it's a short week and Newman has to get on the bus early in the morning to go all the way up there. Benton's a long, long way. That's a long way. That's a 5-hour plus trip going up there to play a Thursday night football game. So obviously school ain't happening for the kids on Friday because they wouldn't get back here till early Friday morning. That said, yeah, Benton's defense is a weakness, but on a short week, I know Newman's playing with a little confidence, and they wiped out Hahnville, and then they beat Riverside last week. I think I'm going to go with Jared here. I'm going to take Benton close.
A game moves from Friday night to Thursday night. The Kennedy Cougars against the St. Amar Gators. Too many weapons Kennedy has. I have the Kennedy Cougars over St. Amar. VK.
I'm gonna go with Kennedy as well. I think, if Kennedy cleans a lot of things up like we seen last week, it's gonna be a long night for St. Amar. I got Kennedy.
Bernard Causey showed everybody why he was the alpha dog of players in this state last week, neutralizing Kylan Billiot from Terrebonne. And Kennedy's defense, from what I saw last week, that is a fast group. Those dudes have some jets on them. Offensively, they're a very talented offensive team. I'm not sure this is a toss-up, Kenny. I'm not sure. St. Amar has won the first 2 weeks, but they beat a Carver team in week 1 that has since fired their head coach, and there's a lot of mess going on there. And who did they beat last week? St. Amar. Booker T, was it?
Yeah, Booker T.
I think it was Booker T last week. That said, the Gators, admirable start, but I'm going to take Kennedy. I just think they're clearly better, and even on the short week and on the bus trip, they're going to win that game. Kennedy.
All right, now we go to Friday games. We'll start off in Baton Rouge. Catholic versus U-High. Catholic Bears will bounce back after the loss to Warren Easton last week. I got Catholic.
Well, this might take the turn in the standings. I'm going with U-High on this one. Not about this. Catholic is really talented, but like I said once, say it again, it's going to take time with this new head coach here, comparing to a veteran U-High team. It's going to be very close, but I think U-High is going to bounce back this week.
I'm worried about U-High's mental state. They had Rummel beat last week, 10-point lead, 10 minutes to go, and they gave it back and lost. That's what worries me about U-High. Catholic, yeah, they got embarrassed at home, and I think that team's got too much pride. Warren Easton went up there, they're not motivated, they're not this, that, or that. They go out there and almost dropped a half 100 on them, 49 points to be exact. I'm going to go with the Bears on the road. This is going to be another good game, but I think Catholic's got too much at the end. I think they're going to bounce back.
Mandeville going back up to the Baton Rouge area to take on Walker. I got the Skippers going 3-0. Mandeville.
Craig Jones has done a very good job taking on that program. And, Walker's talented in itself, but I think Mandeville, they're on a mission right now, man. So I like Mandeville as well.
That is one of the more positive stories of this year early on. Mandeville, the Skippers have all. Craig Jones has done, like you said, VK, a fabulous job into this point, slaughtering Denham Springs in week 1 and then coming back and winning again last week. I'm a buyer. I'm going to take Mandeville, and I think this game, I don't think it's close. I think it's a 2-touchdown win for the Skippers on the road.
All right. I think this will be a tough one. The Battle of North Baton Rouge, Scotlandville at Madison Prep. I'm going to roll with Madison Prep on this one. DK.
I was hoping you go the other way, but you didn't. It's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna agree with you on that. I'm going with Madison Prep as well. Scotlandville.
I wonder where
Right
Scotlandville
now,
is. Go ahead, V.
Scotlandville has they're looking for direction right now more than anything else. I think Madison Prep's the better team. So Madison Prep.
I'm going to take Madison Prep. Scotlandville is a team that's not playing with is bereft of any confidence. Their defense, like your man Kenny's mentioning, they got rung up for 45 points last week. And granted, it was that car, but it takes a minute. I think Madison Prep got themselves a build up last week off the tough loss in week 1. They got it together with the tough loss. I say tough. It was 28-0 in every way they lost, but they got it back last week. I think they're going to start to click. Madison Prep is my pick.
Still in Baton Rouge, St. Augustine Purple Knights against the Zachary Broncos. Can St. Augustine beat Zachary again for the second year in a row? No. I'm going with the Zachary Broncos. I think Zachary will get the job done in a tight, contested ball game with the St. Augustine Purple Knights. I have Zachary.
I think the Purple Knights are going to flex their muscles, and they're going to do what they got to do to get the win. I think St. Aug is going to do it for the second year in a row, and the standings will turn again. So that would be, you're going to go your way. I'm going to go mine. Purple Knights will go 3-0.
I just want to make sure for the record, I'm not making this pick under duress or any force. But I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes games don't live up to any kind of pregame hype. This is going to be one of them. I'm taking the Purple Knights because they've got the prove it on their mind. Why? They beat Mac 35 in week 1, big, 71-13. But they're like, okay, show it up again. Landry last week was what it was. I mean, they were supposed to do that. It was a little sloppy early. And, the talk about, well, they beat Zachary last year. They're not going to do it again. Wrong answer. St. Augustine's going to win this game, and I think they win it by double figures.
Okay. St. Augustine by double figures. Wow. Man.
By 10.
All right. So I have one thing to say before we move on. And this person I will keep nameless. They wanted me to say, hey, one thing to mention. During Coach Hank's early years at Shaw, there was no seeding. No seeding. And that was true before the power rankings.
Right.
This person also said, sometimes we play games that should have been state final games in week 2 or 3. Of the playoffs. Would have loved if we would have had those power ratings in the late 80s and early 90s. That is a big time key fact. But I'm not going to say that person's name.
That's a good point.
Now,
no.
Moving on. Jess Curtis' new team, Natchitoches Central, taking on Alexandria. I'm going to go with Jess Curtis' team, Natchitoches Central. I think they get a win over Alexandria.
Now, I'll tell you one thing. Alexandria is going to be coming ready to play and everything else, but I'm going to go with Jess Curtis's team as well. I'm going Natchitoches Central over Alexandria.
I don't know where Alexandria is at, but I do know that they're very capable of winning this game. Natchitoches Central got ate up last week. They got beat last week. Pretty hard. I think the Trojans absolutely have merit to pull this thing out, and being at home, I think they do. Alexandria gets off the donut and gets their first win of the season and knocks off Jess Curtis and Natch Central.
All right. Kenny also says Alexandria. Bogalusa at Salmon. Hey, Salmon, man, they running on a lot of cylinders right now, man. Salmon kind of rolling. We saw Bogalusa struggle last week against Slidell. I'm going to go Salmon. I got Salmon for the victory.
I got Salmon as well. I think Bogalusa will be ready, but I think Salmon has really got some momentum right now, and they have a chance to start somewhere. They haven't started since the early 90s, since actually not just the 90s, but since the last years of Daniel Sams at Salmon. So it's been a while, and this could be a potential return to glory for Salmon. I got the Spartans.
I wouldn't go that far. I do think Salmon is very good. Bogalusa got absolutely humbled last week at Slidell. That game was never close. 41-12 it finished. Cyril Crutchfield's got some soul searching in that group. With that group, what happened last week, they get another trip back to Slidell. This is going to end the same way as the first. Salmon.
De La Salle traveling to St. Paul's. De La Salle in a close one. De La Salle in a close one.
Man, I gotta agree with you. I think this is going to be a tug of war. This will be a defensive ball game. De La Salle by a field goal.
If they get some of their defensive starters back, they can win this game. It's not that they can't, but they were missing 6 starters against Holy Cross Saturday night, and now having to go across the lake against St. Paul's. And I think this was a coin flip too. St. Paul's one win was against West Jeff. That was an easy skull dragging in week 1. They lost in week 2. I'm going to go De La Salle trepidantly, but I'm going to go De La Salle close.
Douglas taking on Livingston. A lot of people are very impressed with how Douglas is playing right now. This is a good thing to see. A 2-0 Douglas team. But that comes to an end Friday night. Livingston gets the win.
It should be a really good game Friday. This should be a really, really good game despite all these other matchups. Probably another great underrated game. Livingston's homecoming and stuff like that. Douglas is going to be ready to play. It'll come down to the wire, like I said early in the season, that Douglas is going to make a real push this season, a real push to be a very, very tough team in the district and in the postseason. But I got Livingston getting it done. Coach Francois will get his team together and they'll be over 500.
This is a toss-up for me, but I'm going to go with the home team, Livingston. But I believe it's going to be a very close game. Douglas, yeah, you love the start that they've had. I feel like Livingston's a better team on talent, and they'll get it done.
Cool deal. All right. East Ascension traveling to Destrehan. Coach Lee of East Ascension always schedules a very tough 9-district. And it usually works out for him power points wise in the playoffs. One of the tough teams he plays. West Monroe. I forgot who he played in week 1. Another tough team. But now he's going to Destrehan. Destrehan Wildcats with the win.
This game is going to be interesting in itself. East Ascension and Coach Lee is going to have them ready to play. This is going to be, Destrehan, they had it tough last week against Everett, but pulled away in a big victory. And I think it's going to be tough again this week. I think East Ascension is going to be ready. They're going to be ready to go, but Destrehan will take over the fourth quarter, and they'll pull away with the win. Destrehan will be 3-0.
It's kind of the way I see the script playing out in this game, too. I think a lot of Shane Lee. I think Destrehan continues to grow offensively. I mean, we already know what Shane is about at the backfield position, and it's not just on Eric. They've talked about him a lot. I think Destrehan wins it in a pull away. I think they win by like 14, but that comes in the second half. They'll pull away in the second half.
Yeah, I know how I feel about Shane Lee. I think Shane Lee is really the best running back in the state. I really do. He just doesn't get the credit for it. And I mean, he can catch up the backfield. He's strong, good size, great vision. Anything. I mean, it's all there in Shane Lee. So I just like
it's a tie to I like Shane, but to me, it's Shane Lee, Fred Robinson are the two top in the state, and I can't even pick who's the best one because we cannot leave out Fred because we didn't see too many big performances from Robinson. No knocking Shane Lee. Shane Lee is a beast, but at the same time, Fred Robinson is a beast too. So it's like 1A, 1B. It's tough to choose. But I see where you're coming from with that.
What about Barry Remo from Baton Rouge Catholic?
Remo is good too, and then we can't forget about your boy out of St. Martin's.
We ain't talking about him. He's not a senior. I'm talking about seniors.
Pick the seniors.
But regardless, we talking
about
all
I'm talking about seniors, man.
Oh wow.
I'm saying with when you talk about best in the state, we cannot just talk
Let me
about
rephrase it.
seniors.
Best senior running back in the state. Let me rephrase it then.
Now
Good
you
job.
could phrase
All
it.
right.
Good
Let me
job.
rephrase it then.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking.
Look,
Talk
we
about me.
got a bunch of good running backs. We do. Hands down. Fred.
But it's not as
No,
deep
it's
as
not,
last
but
year, but
it's
still a
still
good one.
good. It's still good.
Yeah.
All right. Holy Cross versus Chalmette. I want to give a shout out to everyone who tuned in live last night. It was our biggest live audience ever. So thank you to everyone who tuned in live last night. Holy Cross fans, Chalmette fans, family of Coach Tucker and Coach Watney, and our fans and new fans we got. I think everybody. That was the biggest audience we've ever had for our live shows. So thank you very much. But now we have to pick who we think is going to win. And I got Holy Cross. I just don't think Chalmette will be able to contain Kobe Young and Cross Johnson in the passing game. Cole Canatella, the quarterback, has a big game. I got Holy Cross.
Expect this game to go down to the wire because I really think Jason Tucker's gonna have them people ready. This is a veteran squad. They're not young. They're not gonna be intimidated. They got work, some big time work against those guys from Holy Cross. There's no doubt in my mind. They got weapons and everything else. But I think it goes down to the wire. But I go with the Holy Cross Tigers by a field goal.
That's an intimidating atmosphere to play Bobby Nutt Stadium when things are going good. It's a very tough venue to go and get a road win. And Chalmette, and Coach Tucker mentioned it last night. They're pretty much packing that place Friday night. And Holy Cross, of course, is going to bring them their people. It's not that bad a trip. It's only 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe. But as far as the game itself, I don't think Chalmette's DBs have seen this receiving core of Kobe Young and Cross Johnson. I mean, and Canatella has really come into his own as the quarterback. I think Scott Watney outduels Jason Tucker. I think Holy Cross wins by a touchdown.
I think this next game will be a good game. I think it will. I think it's going to come down to a game-winning field goal. Somebody needs to win bad. North Shore or Hornville. Which way will I go? I got the Hornville Tigers winning on a game-winning field goal.
I'm like this in this game. Bet the under. Bet the under on this one, baby. Under 35 in this one. It's gonna be a defensive war. And I gotta agree with Jared on this one. I wish I can go the other way. I do want to shake the standings up, but I'm not. I'm gonna give some love to Daniel Luquette. Hornville wins by a field goal.
Jared, you posted a screenshot from Hornville's people, I think, a week ago on the chat where there's something.
Yeah, to y'all, yes.
Yeah, to
Yes.
us in our chat. And I don't like when, it stinks when the alumni starts barking and they start making complaints. And look, it's legit. But in this game, you're playing an equally struggling North Shore team that has gotten off to a tough start. I'm not about overs and unders in high school football, unlike you, BK. I'm just kidding when I say that. But I do believe it is a low scoring game, and the Tigers of Hornville win close.
The Hash It Out Show Game of the Week. Turtles Catholic at St. Charles Catholic. George Peppers and VK cannot pick this game. I can pick it for fun. It doesn't count towards the standings.
Yeah, no cheating, sir.
Hey.
I have a lot of integrity. But this game here, I think y'all about to get a good old dog fight between two good teams. Mm-hmm. But that mad genius of Wayne Stein is going to figure out a way to win another tight ball game. Think about this mad genius, man. Against Lutcher last year. Shaw this year. Lutcher again this year. The state championship game. This mad genius of Wayne Stein will figure something out. Wayne Stein and St. Charles Catholic with the victory.
I think it's going to be really fun to do this game on Friday and precursor to I gotta make sure I send some information to Wayne
I
Stein for
gotta send
next
you
week.
the,
I
the
will
interview
be
graphics. Yeah, I got
yes,
you.
yes. But also I'll be speaking at the quarterback club at St. Charles Catholic on Tuesday. So I'll make sure I have to send some information, Coach Stein, with my bio and all that stuff and everything. But it's gonna be great, a great atmosphere out there. We know the tailgate is gonna be nothing nice. We know Turles Catholic and Coach Shapanche is done a great job. The son of a very legendary coach out there in Turles, and they're gonna bring a lot of fans with them. It's gonna be I wouldn't be surprised it might be standing room only Friday night out there in Laplace at Thomas Dupuis. So it's gonna be very fun to be there. We appreciate St. Charles Catholic for opening the doors for us. We talked with Coach Wayne Stein before the season, and he liked what we was trying to do, and he was hoping that we would get the opportunity, and the opportunity came. So we're gonna have fun on Friday night, George.
A stat that I gave VK earlier, Jared, I'm going to blow your mind with this, and I thank Mike Coppage for posting this. He posted the top 25 Louisiana high school football rankings total in generalities, regardless of class, and Turlings is ranked there. In the game last week against the Boyles, they ran 8 plays in the first half. 8. It's on the top 25 bio. Go check it out. They ran 8 plays against AVP of Wells Pass, and they blew them out. I mean, they won that game easy. I think a key to this game is St. Charles's defense. They're going to have to find a way to neutralize this offense. This Sterling's offense is legit. They can get you. They could score. Um, okay, I'm just reading. I'm stopping as I see the comment. Okay. But Turlings won this game last year 28-22 in an exciting game there. Now Turlings has to make the trip to Laplace. And VK's right. The atmosphere is going to be off the chain. I mean, those dudes, they care about their football there in Laplace. But a key to this game, the Comets defense has been so good. But this Turlings offense is going to present them a very unique challenge. Their speed and their ability to generate big plays is going to be a very acid test for the Comets. And obviously, I can't pick it. I'll be on the call with VK. But that to me is an integral part of where this game could go is the Comet defense against this Rebel offense. If they're able to slow them down, then it stands to reason they have a really good shot to win.
Okay. West Jeff versus Higgins. West Jeff lost to HL Bourgeois last Friday. Higgins in a tough battle with Livingston. I'm going with the Higgins Hurricanes.
Oh
Uh-oh.
man, it's a toss-up game here. Both teams losing a close one. I ain't gonna lie, I like the fight that Clifford Harris is getting his team. I like what they're trying to do. I like what they're trying to prove. Man, but there's a toss up here, man. Do I want to shake up the standings or do I don't want to shake up the standings? You know what? Higgins.
Well,
George?
Jared, you go ahead. Yeah, I'm here. Jared, you and I picked this game last night on another show, 10:08 last night, and we both went the way of the Hurricanes. I'm not changing my mind. Listen, West Jefferson has a myriad of issues. I talked to their play-by-play voice earlier this evening, Johnny Marquis, and he's telling me that there's problems there, but they feel like they got a good base of talent. And I'm like, well, how is that good base of talent losing to HL Bourgeois? And he didn't give me an answer. And in that vein, Higgins has shown more character and gut. Yeah, they got overwhelmed by Kennedy 2 weeks ago, but they gave Livingston a nice little tussle, scoring 12 points and giving them a good game. I think the Hurricanes, if you ask them to a man, they can win this game, and I think they will win it. This VK is going to be a defensive struggle. There's not going to be a lot of offense here. Your premium, the first team to 14 wins it. Higgins.
Under 20.
There you go.
Under 20.
Let's go up north. Helix Mentorship at Wassman. We had Coach K on the show. His team is off to a 2-0 start. They'll be 3-0 after this game. Wildcats.
Wassman, name your score. They'll be 3-0.
I know nothing of the team that they're playing, but I do know Wassman, and I think the Wildcats get it done. To be fair, I don't know much about this Helix mentorship group, but Wassman gets the dub.
Huntington going to Neville. Hey, this Neville team looks legit to me from what I've seen on their YouTube channel. I got Neville.
Tremendous win last week for Neville. Big win for them. And they look like they're trying to get back in the fold and everything else. And they beat what, was it Washita they beat last week?
Neville has beat Evangel and Washita. They beat Evangel in overtime. They beat Washita 19-15.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like the Neville Tigers. It's gonna be a good one against Huntington. So I like Neville getting it done.
I think it's a close game. Huntington is legit. They're 2-0. They're not a fake 2-0. That's a legit 2-0 team coming up to Monroe Friday night. But I'll take the team that's been in the bigger spots more often. I'll take Neville by a touchdown.
Oak Grove going to Sterlington. Oak Grove in a big rivalry game last week against Washita Christian lost 28-7. Now they got to play Sterlington. I got Sterlington.
I got burnt by Oak Grove, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm not doing it again. Sterlington.
Sterlington gave West Monroe a heck of a fight. Was it last week, 13-7? I think they lost. They lost.
Week one of the two.
They gave them a heck of a fight and lost, and then he came back and won their other game. I don't remember who they beat off top. Oak Grove, as you mentioned, JB, they lost at Washita Christian pretty decisively. What was it, 28-7 or something like that?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Sterlington. I think they win, and I think the West Monroe loss looks better than their win. It sounds crazy to say, but I'm going to take Sterlington. Eyeball a 5A team. That's a 1A school, by the way, Sterlington. And they almost beat West Monroe at West Monroe, lost by 6. I'll take Sterlington.
We're going to go to Lafayette now. The Brother Martin Crusaders are going to play St. Thomas More. Crusaders, good luck to y'all. Good luck to y'all. But STM wins this game. Too much STM.
Reggie Johnson, where you at? Where you at, my friend?
He ain't going.
My friend?
Hey, look, he's not going because the band's not going. So Reggie already told me he'll be at Shaw. He want to come back home now. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I got it. All I know, Reggie, after your son finishes at Brother Martin, I have a nice gift for you, my friend. I have a nice gift. Very nice gift. But I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be too much STM. I ain't gonna lie, I would bet the over because it could be a shootout early, but I like STM pulling away with the victory. STM big.
I don't know how Brother Martin wins this game. I think St. Thomas More's myriad of weapons is going to be too much for a legit Crusaders team. You love what Mark Bonice has done in the first 2 weeks. They goose egg Madison Prep week 1, 28-0, and they came back and won again last week. I think it stops here, though. STM puts a blip on Brother Martin's season this week, and I think they do it by 2 scores.
Evangel coming down to play the Westgate Tigers. Fulgham twins. I think Coach Antoine got something stirred up. A little double team on one wide receiver. That's a Fulgham. A little cover 2 man. A little cover 2 zone. Westgate wins. Westgate. Yes.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's going to be a good game early, but I think Westgate will get some big stops. I wouldn't be surprised Westgate wins by 2 scores.
Evangelist had a nice run of things to start. They lost a close game to Neville, then they crushed Mansfield, but they were supposed to do that. That was a build back up game. Here's the problem I have. Even if Evangel gets beat, that doesn't make me think any less of them going forward. With that in tow,
I agree.
Westgate is going to whip them and whip them soundly. I think 3 scores might be the margin here.
Ooh, okay.
Because if they are able to stop the Twins that you're talking about, JB, the next man up, have they proven that they're good enough, to affect Westgate defensively? And remember, Westgate's got some alpha dogs on defense. Those dudes can go.
Yeah.
And I think Westgate's going to take that and establish it early. This is a tough trip. It's going to be a long night for the Eagles, but they'll still be a factor later in the season, just not Friday night.
Jesuit is taking that ride down I-10. I want to say exit 200 or 201, because you can see Lafayette Christian right off the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
Right to the right. Yep. Yes, sir. Right to the right. You can see it. Jesuit lost big to Ruston. Now you're going against the best player in the state, in my opinion, in Juwan Johnson. I don't see how Jesuit's going to stop him and stop Lafayette Christian. I got Lafayette Christian big. Lafayette Christian. VK.
Jesuit, man. Ryman Alley, great guy, man. Great Jesuit. I mean, good win against Slidell, but last week close early, but all of a sudden Rummel Ruston just settled down and just took care of business. Then this is a big axe. You gotta go to LCA. Man, it's gonna be a long night, man. LCA big. It's just gonna be. It just don't look good. If Jesuit can, the one thing Jesuit's gonna have to do, they're gonna have to play keep away against LCA. And that's the only way they'll stay in the game. But that's gonna be a big task against a very, very good team.
I think the only chance Jesuit has is if they put Juwan Johnson in a locker room and throw away the key. That's the only chance they have. Listen, it's going to be a tough night for the road teams in the Catholic League. We talked about Brother Martin. They're going to have a tough act at STM. Jesuit only got 7 against Ruston last week, and Ruston dropped 35 on them, most of it in the second half, because that game was close at halftime, and the Bearcats took care of business, like VK said. What do you think LC's going to do? This is the same Lafayette Christian that put 62 on Acadiana at Acadiana. That offense is lethal, and I don't think Jesuit has the horses to keep up. I love Ryan Manali a lot. I think he's a great coach, but he's probably figured out going to have to be the wizard of wizards to try to slow this offense down. You're not going to stop them. LCA too much. I think they win big.
It's like they're going to have to call the wizard of Chris Jericho or something that they're going to need on Friday night.
The list.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, no kidding.
This game here, to me, is going to be a great battle. Lake Charles College Prep going to Opelousas. Opelousas got some talent, especially running back Deshaun Ford, who is related to Michael Ford, who played at LSU. Lake Charles College Prep, Elijah Garrick at wide receiver, who's going to Memphis. Also, Eric Franklin Jr., who's at cornerback, who's going to Sam Houston. We got a good ball game. Who's going to be able to stop who? Who's going to make the least amount of turnovers? The least mistakes? Lake Charles College Prep in a close one. LCCP.
Oh, man. I think what LCCP learned last week more than anything else, and I think both teams took lumps in their first 2 games. They took some kind of lumps, and one of them has got to come up on top. The over/under, take the over at 31, because this is going to be high scoring, and this is going to be a fun ball game. I'm going to take LCCP for the win in a shootout.
BK setting totals in high school football games wonders. We don't advocate that, but we're just doing it in fun. This is all entertainment. It's not serious. This game, though, is serious. LCCP got smoked by Westgate. Was it Westgate last week? They beat him pretty handily. Opelousas, though, has been a team that's been talked about, before the year. They were talked about as a team that can do some things, but I'm going to take Lake Charles College Prep on a tough environment, and they get the win by a field goal.
All right. The battle for the megaphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, now for the megaphone presentation. We'll take it.
No, 14 years of seeing that. 14 years. Well, 13 years, really. It could be a 14 year of seeing that happen. As a Shaw alum, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Tired of that team over there across the river holding our megaphone. It's not for them. It's for us. Tired of it. It shouldn't be like this. It's time for the megaphone to come home. Chad Boyd, the last All-American at Archbishop Shaw, his senior class is the last graduating class to have the megaphone. He left, gone, and it's never came back. All good things eventually come to an end. Friday night, we're not going to see this happen. You're not going to see Rummel raise up a megaphone. No. You're going to see players in green jerseys have the megaphone in their hand, raising it up. Shaw is bringing the megaphone back home this year. Our game plan needs to be to run Jasper Parker. Run the ball with him, put the focus of the offense on him. We do that, megaphone comes home. We send them Rummel Raiders back to West Napoleon, Severn, whatever. We send them back. And I'm going to be on the field, ready to interview Coach Hank. I don't know how I'm going to get down there so fast. I don't know. Trust me, it's going to take me 5 minutes to get down the bleachers. Well, I'm going to be down there, and I'm going to get Coach Hank interviewed. The Rummel Raiders are losing to the Shaw Eagles, and they're losing the megaphone. Go Eagles. Go Shaw, go. Go, VK.
Oh, my brother, testify. well, I tell you, man, I think this is going to be another absolute great war in itself, in a battle. Rummel has owned Shaw, pretty much. But this is Archbishop Shaw's greatest chance to beat the Rummel Raiders. And if they don't beat them this year, I don't know when Shaw's going to beat them, because they got to go to Joe Yenny the next 2 years. So they better get it done this year. I got the Shaw Eagles in a close one.
I'm talking about.
And I thought, VK, you were going Rummel. Oh, man, I thought for sure you were going to Raiders. Look, I get what we're talking about. You know, this is another game you and I picked last night, JB, on 10:08. And we both had Shaw. Look, I think a very big key to me is the ideology of the Shaw offense. It needs an identity. You don't have that yet. This is a heck of a place to start. You need to run Jasper Parker, but when Rummel starts keying in on him, because you know Nick Monica is a sound coach and he's going to make adjustments. You know, that's a second half team. Ask University Lab. That's a second half team. Rummel came back from 10 down in the fourth quarter to win against that team. Once they start making adjustments, what does Mason Wilson do? He is going to be a very important cog in this offense. He needs to stay within the realm of what this offense is, do what is asked of him. You're not ready to make, what's the word I'm looking for. You're not ready to just make the plays on your own. You're not the audible kind. I think you need to stay with what Hank and them and the game plan puts out for you. Make it work. Defensively, Shaw's going to be fine. This is a very sound defense. But Rummel comes at you with different looks, and it's basic, but they do mix things up. I'm going to still pick Shaw to win this game Friday night. And again, I'm not making this pick under duress. I'm making it of my own free will, JB, because you're a Shaw grad and no influence was added. But I'm going to pick Shaw, and I'll give you a score. I say Shaw 17, Rummel 13.
It's time for the megaphone to come home.
What is it, near the banks of the Old Man River?
The banks of Old Man River. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, all I know,
I haven't forgotten being on 1008. Fred Banks talking all that mess to me.
well, Shaw better win, because if you don't, Curly Hair's coming for you Friday. That's all I'm gonna tell you, brother.
About Fred Banks. You can come from me. It's all good.
All I know, your team, your school better win. I kept when saying, "Oh, got y'all on a jamboree." I told y'all, say that energy for Rummel. Say that energy. See, it felt good to sing "Rise, Sons of the Golden Purple" on your home field in my hometown. It felt great, but at the same time, I know it would feel better if you guys can get it done, and I know it'll feel great for you and that Shaw alumni.
VK, I got one question for you, JB.
That don't even count, man.
JB, I got a question for you, VK, and I bet you agree. I think we should advocate one thing. If Shaw does win Friday night, they forget the captains. Give Jared Boyd the microphone.
Yes.
Let's advocate for that. Look, I love you, Coach Hank, and your team, and I love you, Nick, Monica, and your group. But yeah, JB, you got to be the man to get that megaphone. And I can about imagine one of our phones is going to get a picture of him with it if Shaw wins. I can promise you, one of us is going to get that picture.
Take a pic. The one thing, if they win, you interview Coach Hank. Please take a picture with him and you with that megaphone.
Yeah,
that will make
megaphone. I'm sending a picture to Coach J. Roth. I'm sending a picture to Logan.
Oh, dog.
I'm sending a picture to Jamar Chase, Kristen Fulton. Yeah, and any other. Let me see.
Ryan Clark.
No, he's Shaw.
Ryan Clark from ESPN for Shaw.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sending to Ryan Clark. Yeah. I'm doing all that. Them Rummel guys gonna get it. Now, moving on to our last game. Hey, let me tell you something. Yeah, it's there right now. But come Friday night at 9:30, it's on 1000 Barataria Boulevard, or before they built that building on Barataria Boulevard, 1000 Salesian Lane. Let's get it right.
Correct.
It is coming back to the West Bank. Forget that East Bank. You know how hard it was to watch my cousin play in that uniform for Rummel? You know how hard it was? Well, you know what I did one time? You know what I did? Shaw had a late game on a Saturday. Rummel had an early game. I went to Logan's game. My Shaw hat and Shaw shirt. I got the looks. Yeah, I'm here. I'm Shaw. Now what? Say something.
Well,
I got the looks.
Well, I had got the looks too when my cousin played for Shaw. You know what I'm saying? When he played basketball for Shaw, that state championship year with Torrey Walker. And I still didn't forget the time when they played at St. Aug. And I was up in there, and a couple of people I went to elementary school that was related on my cousin's daddy's side of the family. And I still ain't forget that time when they got on me. And I straight up said, "Hey, I want you to shut 23 down, shut him down." And all of a sudden they came like, wait. Who you think you are? That's our cousin. I said, that's my cousin too, but he in my house tonight. So meaning that, hey, like J. Roth talked about, when we hit the field, and that's how sports has changed over the years. It's not what it was. We took things seriously in the Cat League, meaning like 4 quarters, even when it was St. August Shaw, smack talking, whatever, when the game was on, it was war. When it was done for, we hug, we shake hands, we friends again. Me and my cousin, we knew we had nothing but love when the game was over. When the game was on, it's war.
All right. Moving on to the last game, guys.
Here we go.
And y'all know what it is. It's Edna Carr versus Warren Easton. Just like Shaw has lost 13 times to Rummel, 13 straight times to Rummel, Warren Easton has lost to Carr 11 straight times. But that's been since 2016. 11 times. A couple times in the state semifinals. A couple times in the state championship game. They have not been able to get over this hump ever since Jerry Phillips took over. Can Warren Easton get over the hump? Everyone is saying this is the best team in the state. They beat Ruston. They beat Baton Rouge Catholic. Is it their year to beat Edna Carr? Ladies and gentlemen, Edna Carr will be your winner in a close, tight ball game. Fred might get his 100 yards. I know 2 years ago, that was the only game he didn't go over 100 yards. I wasn't there last year. Wait, I was there last year. Yeah, he didn't go 100 yards last year. That's right. He got shut down. He did. He got shut down last year. I was there last year at Berman. I was there. You got to get Fred going. You don't get Fred going, I think you're in trouble. I think you're in trouble. The run game is not established. Warren Easton is in trouble. As far as Edna Carr, they're throwing that ball left and right. Too many weapons. I don't see how Warren Easton can cover and contain those weapons. Edna Carr, y'all, will win this game. Go ahead, VK.
Well, we expect this game to be another classic. I think so. Regardless of this being a one-sided rivalry, we have seen a lot of very great games more than anything else with these two teams.
Green stripes right here, Kenny, right here. Green stripes right there.
and I tell you, this is going to be a great game coming up. Last season, Fred Robinson, he didn't have his 100 yards. But Warren Easton had a bunch of injuries on defense, including Jare Johnson. And that was, regardless of Carl playing them, those injuries was huge because Warren Easton could not stop a cold without those guys. This season, Warren Easton has depth everywhere. This is the most deepest Warren Easton team. This is their greatest chance to beat Edna Carr.
Their state championship.
This is their state championship. Unless something happens down the line.
Correct.
Remember, still long in the season, and they could take LHSA to court. We'll see down the line. But I really think this game is going to be another good one. Once again, I like Warren Easton to finally get it done. And I'm going to say what I said about Shaw. If Easton doesn't beat Edna Carr this year, if Easton don't beat Edna Carr this year, we don't know when Easton's going to beat Carr.
Yeah, we got finished with J. Roth right around 8:50, Magic Man, 8:50. We had him on from 8 o'clock to 8:50. Go ahead, GP.
Well, I've basically made myself known to where I am in this game. I look at Warren Easton, and I see a team that has come off 2 incredible road wins at Ruston, having to come back late to get that win. That's a gut check. And then absolutely owning Baton Rouge Catholic, who we have high regard for. They are absolutely feeling good. BK is right that they're healthy. I think the quarterback has to be a player here. He had a big game. Greg Donaldson had a big game last week. I'm sorry, I have a cough drop. Donaldson is a nice player who owned BRC last week. Carr, there's no need to question credentials. They know what they're about. They've won this thing 11 in a row. Will it be 12? No. I think Warren Easton gets it done. And if they don't get it done this year, with the resume that they've already built up until this week, when? It's always if not now, when. But for Warren Easton, I think they unload frustration, and I'll give you the final. Easton 41, Carr 27.
Okay.
And it sounded like a similar score the last time
That they beat them.
Warren Easton beat Carr.
Yep,
So hey, might be frustration, all that taken out on
exactly.
them, on them, more than anything else. And hey, the competition it means a lot. So it's gonna be interesting to see, man. It's gonna be an interesting night, and what I'm saying, if Carr wins, well, you know how it goes. But still, I think Easton, this is their greatest chance.
Well, everyone, we thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. Got a bunch of good games starting tomorrow. Any game you go to, please be safe. We don't need any senseless acts of violence nowhere. We all just want to go out and enjoy some nice high school football.
It's not. And spell my name right, sir. I see the typo. Um, I do want JB before we go. I do want to hype Friday, 6:20. We will be on the air on TSBNSports.com with the pregame of Charlie's Catholic St. Charles at Thomas Dupuis Stadium. Myself and VK Jones are going to be on the call. We urge you to tune in. Jared Boyd will join us from Joe Zimmerman Stadium. Maybe this is the last time we'll see Happy JB. Because if Rummel wins Friday night, we're going to get depressed JB for a while. I'll tell you what, I got an idea, VK. I
What's that?
think this should happen. If Shaw wins, if Shaw beats Rummel, Jared, be a man. Let's man up here. Put the green on. The green face paint. But if Rummel wins, you got to put the red face paint on for the shows next week. Fair deal?
Deal.
Oh,
Gotta love it, VK. Gotta love it. I love this. Because if Rummel wins, VK's gonna, we all pick Shaw. I get it. But the game of the week, is it fair to say the game of the week is Carr Easton?
No, the game of the week is St. Charles Catholic and Turlins.
Might be.
hey,
That's
there
our
you
show.
go.
Game of the week is the game of the week.
Oh, of course. My bad. My bad. All right.
And I'm looking forward to getting, me and George bringing a call to you Friday on TSBNsports.com. We'll have the link for you no later than tomorrow with the game preview as well. And, we're plugging everything out, man. And hopefully I'll make it Tuesday for the show. If we do have a show Tuesday, like I said, I'm going to be at the quarterback club meeting. It'll be 6:30 Tuesday over at St. Charles Catholic. So I'm currently invited. I'm going to be the guest speaker. So, looking forward to that and everything. And, this weekend is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. All the great football and stuff like that. Tulane's on the road. I know JB, you'll be going to Hattiesburg to check out the Green Wave. We got LSU. Right now, you could say this is battle of Louisiana versus Mississippi Part 2. We went on 2 with Tulane and Southern going down. So now this week it'll be Tulane and LSU this week as LSU goes to Mississippi State for an early kick.
Hey,
So that'll be interesting to see.
who's that guy that said that Jackson State was just bad and would lose to Southern? Who?
I did not say it was bad. I said they would lose to Southern. But they didn't, and I give J State their credit. Like I said, I think Southern might be in a little bit of trouble right now because their first two. I see Jackson is tough. Jackson State is tough, but the Alabama State game might be a little bit of trouble here, and I think it's offensively has been really the trouble at Southern because the defense has been keeping them in a lot of the ball games. It's just the fact offensively they don't really have a pulse right now. So I tell you, Eric Dooley has got a lot of work to do over at Southern. But Mississippi versus Louisiana this weekend. Saints on the road at Carolina. So they're going to try and get 2-0 on the season. Should be great, interesting weekend of football in Colorado prime time this weekend. So it's gonna be
Game day.
It's gonna be game day. You know what I'm saying? I know the look on your face, Jared, but
It's a
still,
9:00
but it's
game
gonna.
for us. It's very late.
Oh yeah. That's why he got the look
Yeah,
on his
it's
face.
very late.
But you know, there gonna be some interesting
I
games.
should be back in time. I should be back in time.
Oh yeah, you should be back in time, absolutely. And all I know, there gonna be some interesting games, and I ain't gonna lie, I see one upset right now that might happen. But at the same time, you know, SEC, yeah,
We'll see. But everybody,
SEC, right?
thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be back Tuesday and Wednesday. Our goal is to have a guest on Tuesday. We shall see. But on Wednesday, and ask my good friend right here, VK, if he can get on this. Our goal is to have two other legends with us at the same time. Former Destrehan head coach Steve Robichaux and former Hornville head coach Lou Valden, because next week is Hornville versus Destrehan week. So we love to have those two guys on. That's the plan. So hopefully we'll have it. If we get it, I will put it on the social media accounts all over Instagram and Facebook. But thank y'all for tuning in. We're back next week. Y'all take care. The Hash It Out Show is brought to you by Barreto Home Solutions, Bayou Audio and Video, Hot Works on the North Shore, JFK Martial Arts in Mandeville and Covington, Black Hawk Hauling, Lil Dizzy's Cafe, Wags Food and Culture, Moe's Pizza, The Green Law Firm, Personal Injury Attorney, Drums Earwear.
Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. 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 Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
Thank you for watching the Hash It Out Show.